Rivian R2s are about to hit customer hands. Missouri NEVI is actually moving forward. And I'm got to talk about this article I read that just blew my mind and is completely changing my perspective on charging. Let's pull some shots. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Espresso Shots. It's been a few weeks, but I felt it was important to get those site reviews out there and the road trip out there. That's the backbone of what this channel was built on. So I held off on these to get those out there just because I felt that was the important way to do it. I'm going to change this up a little bit. Getting rid of all the little segmenty things and making it so structured. I just kind of want this more just to be like a conversation over a cup of coffee. And the cup of coffee today is Upshot Coffee. I'm at the flagship location in Cottleville, and they're kind enough to let me film outside and made a really good Americano, so we're winning. With that, got a few topics. I'm just gonna kind of run through those as quickly as I can because there's one big topic at the end I want to dig into. I found this really intriguing article that's kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things, and I want to go over that more in depth. So with that, just some of the stuff I wanted to bring up. You've probably seen R2 delivery starts June 9th, and also demo drives. So you can sign up for a demo drive after June 9th, hopefully, if your local center has them available. I know I'm gonna sure be keeping an eye on the local one here in St. Louis, out in Bridgeton, I believe, and see if I can't do a demo drive and hopefully film a video about it. That'd be interesting. I know I don't do car reviews here. I've discussed that at the very beginning of the channel, that I'm shying away from car reviews for reasons. Mostly I don't know if I'm really good at describing cars. I'm just good at enjoying them. So with that, so June 9th, R2, that's a big date. Next on my list was to talk about the Ferrari Luce. Honestly, I don't know what else there's to say. It's kind of a travesty. Looks like a cool EV. Does not look like a Ferrari. Does not look like a $650,000 anything. I think when they started teasing the Luce and Lamborghini came out and said, we're just scrapping the whole EV thing because our customers don't want it, and they had no interest, Ferrari should have listened. If you listen to enough like Smoking Tire, Matt Farah and stuff, they get into like there's kind of a price at which EV max out for interest, and it's kind of around $150,000. I mean, yeah, there's some more expensive ones, especially like the Lucid Sapphire, but for the most part, if you really look at it, anything that's gone too much higher than that just does not get the traction. Customers with that kind of money that want cars still want ICE vehicles, so we'll leave it there. My notes are bouncing around here. I did want to talk about, I held the Caffeine and Kilowatts at the Fenton Wally's Iona Rechargery past weekend. I thought it went pretty good for as small as my channel is, as small as my reach is. Had about 5 or 6 people show up that knew the channel, and a bunch of other people came in and enjoyed the 20-cent charging, and we helped a few people that didn't know as much about EVs, and especially one gentleman just bought a new Volvo and 3 days old and still had a lot of questions, so a few of us stood around and helped him and got him plugged in, and so it was a lot of fun. I wish the swag would have shown up in time. It actually showed up about an hour into the event, so still got that floating around in my car. Some good stuff too, so I'll try and get that. Maybe do another event later in the summer, make sure that all gets dispersed appropriately. Electrify America announced this week they are getting rid of just holding account balances on your account in favor of just $20 incremental holds on credit cards, which is more common and generally more preferred than just letting them hold on to your money that you may or may not ever use. So, as far as new stations in the area, if you've seen my last couple videos, you know we got the new Walmart in Lake St. Louis, great location. We got the new Electrify America over at Heritage Place by Deerberg's. Also a really cool site with all the 10 stalls all pull through, and I got to spy on the Waymos and talk to the drivers about that. So go back and check out those videos to see the full reviews of those stations. And from what I can tell, the new EVgo going in Bridgeton, right across kind of from the Target where the large supercharger is coming along quickly. So once that opens up, I'll see what I can do about getting a review up for that one. I wanted to quickly mention, speaking of reviews, I keep forgetting to mention at the end of the videos when I do the recaps, I do have the Amped Americano Index web app. It's linked in every video. You can go to ampedamericaноindex.base44.app. We'll take you right to it. And it's got all the rankings of all the chargers I've done so far. So keep an eye on that and check that one out. So now to the bigger ones. First of all, Missouri NEVI is moving along. They finally have identified the mandatory locations that they need sites built in the first phase. Has to be with filling out the 50-mile increments along all interstates and state highways. Surprisingly, as far behind as Missouri has always seemed on infrastructure, there's only 5 sites that have been identified for the phase 1 build out, and those are in St. Joseph, Concordia, Lamar, Butler, and St. Robert. So I expect bidding for those sites to open up soon and get construction going. Once those are built and online, they can move into phase 2, which is a little more generalized. You can go to public and private sector, and so that'll be cool to see who jumps in and takes those sites under their wings. With NEVI sites, there are rules. They have to be at least, I think it's 4 stalls, 150 kilowatt minimum, and a 50-50 split between NACS and CCS. So they have to be very universal for everyone. So keep an eye on those locations for some NEVI action, hopefully. Now, the big one I wanted to talk about. Let me make sure I get everything cited where this information came from. So I was on LinkedIn, that's one, and ran across a post by Scott Bradley, it's 2, posting about a report that Electric Era, or an article Electric Era put out. And Electric Era is a CPO EV charging company that specializes in like battery storage and bringing charging to businesses at a lower cost, helping reduce demand charges and installation costs. So they put out an article based on a report done by Perrin, who is pretty much the industry standard for any data related to charging. They do studies and reports and everything. And what this article was, let me pull up the article. I'm kind of going to lump through it here. But it was based on the state of retail first EV charging. And some of the findings in here blew my mind. So what this report did is it looked at over 4,000 stations over a period of time amongst all CPOs. And it was comparing what amenities retail-wise were near these stations and how the type of amenity and store affected the usage of the site, amongst other things. And that's where a lot of the bigger things came in. They looked at the amenities nearby and how many different amenities were nearby. These are only 100 kilowatt plus fast charging stations in the report, and they were basically just tracking sessions per day. The big findings: density, compounds. The more amenities near a site, the more the sites got used. A lot of this is like, yeah, duh. We'll get to some more surprising, to me, facts. First of which is that grocery stores were the runaway winner. They showed 42 sessions per day, the highest metric amongst all the different sites that they looked at. I'm just going through the article here. I will link it in the description. It's a really fascinating read to go in depth. I want to do it, but I don't want to be here forever either. The other big one was station reliability matters. When a station doesn't work, people stop using it, they stop thinking about it. Some route planners stop routing people to these stations when they show reports of unreliability, so that was the other big factor. Broke it down, percentages, like the highest percentages with charging in the United States in their report. Quick serve restaurants like your McDonald's, your Chick-fil-A's were 54%. And I should clarify too that all of these amenities have to be within 1/10 of a mile or basically a 2-minute walk of the charger to count. So quick serve restaurants were the highest quantities, sit down restaurants were next, followed by coffee, big box stores. Interestingly, banks, but around here it makes sense. We've got all these 50 kilowatt EVgos at the commerce banks around here. The lower end, interestingly, travel and rest stops, only 14%. Auto services, lodging, hotels tend to lean towards level 2 charging over DC fast charging. So that was interesting, but the numbers on amenities, if there was no amenities nearby, a station averaged 3 per day. Went up to 9 if there was up to 10 amenities within the range, and up to 28 if there was 10 or more. So definitely, the more things to draw people there, the more stations are going to get used. Once again, a lot of this isn't groundbreaking news. But the fact that grocery stores led the way by far at 42 sessions per day just for having a grocery store, to me that seemed surprising. And followed by your big box or your Walmart, your Targets. And then another weird one, pharmacies came in third at like 37 sessions per day at a pharmacy. That seems like that's an in and out. I don't see, to me, that doesn't seem like a reason to stop and DC fast charge. Followed by shopping malls, fashion retail, specialty retail, which is like your PetSmarts and your at the bottom of the list, quick serve, only showing about 14 per day. Convenience and gas stations, 13. Auto services, lodging, and then at the bottom, and this is where my mind started just doing flips. Travel and rest stop locations show the least utilization, and it was about 7 charging sessions per day. And to think, you know, that's your corridor, that's your Pilot Flying J's, your, you know, BP Pulses, and I guess, well, maybe not, there's not many of those, but just to think that rest stops with charging stations are showing the least utilization struck me there. But once again, density is king. The more things around it, the more it's going to get used. They have a few examples in here, like this one, I had to search where this actual station was, and it's at the Fashion Outlets in Rosemont, Illinois, near Chicago. It is a high-end outlet mall near major hotels, near O'Hare, near the Rosemont Theater. It has 51 registered amenities within 1/10 of a mile. Averages 103 sessions per day. And where that gets weird is once I dug into it, this is a 6-stall Electrify America station in the parking garage of this mall. And it's only free for the first hour. If you average that down, that's almost each stall being used a session once an hour for 24 hours. And I guarantee they're not all being used 24 hours. So these are, during peak times, busy stalls, and people are taking the chance of getting in there, not getting a stall, having to wait. And if you pass that hour, it's then $13 for the next hour just to be in the garage that you're risking adding onto your charging session. You know, that's the draw of the amenities there, that people are willing to take that chance for that charging station. And there's other stuff around. There's the BP Pulse Giga Hub is right there. There's a huge Tesla station there because it's right at O'Hare. So I mean, there are other options, but people choose that station because it shows the amenities are there. I didn't dig in to find this exact location, but it showed it's a grocery store location with 5 amenities. Shows almost 59 sessions a day. Amenity density matters. There's one on here they show it's a high density amenity, 21 amenities within range, but it shows poor reliability and therefore only shows less than 6 sessions a day. reliability kills everything else, and it should. And that's what everyone needs to know. So digging back into which amenities perform best, and this is where, once again, I'm getting into the mental gymnastics, trying to wrap my head around this. 42 average median sessions a day, just if there's a grocery store with a charger. And where like I said, this is changing my total perspective, because I've always looked at DC fast charging from a road tripping perspective. But that's, I guess, the privilege I have, that I have home charging. I don't use DC fast chargers unless I'm road tripping. I'm out away from home. So to me, I never even think about using it at a grocery store, or even the Walmart, Lake St. Louis, great location. I'm not going to use it that much because it's 5 minutes from my house. Malls win for density with 35 sessions a day, just because of the draw of a mall. And once again, I'll come back around to malls because that brings in some other stuff. But then there's also the flip, that grocery stores lead in usage, but are at the bottom of the list for the amount of grocery stores that show up on the list. Only 6.7% of stations are near grocery stores, yet they get used the most when they're there. And it shows that the dwell time for a grocery store and most DC fast charging sessions matches up perfectly. Even Walmart has said that's the same reason why they didn't go with slower chargers, because they find that the 20 to 30 minute charging session matches up very well with pretty much the average trip to Walmart. So that actually works really well. And so it just shows that if these retail locations see their parking lots as a commodity and not just overhead, they can drive charging business and bring business to them. And that shows too. The stats show that this seems to be better experiences when the retailer owns the station and controls the experience over just a charging provider dropping chargers in there, which once again seems backwards to me, because that's to me leaning towards like where the charge point stations that just get thrown in and forgotten about. But interesting article. Once again, dig in. Please read this article. There's so much I'm glossing over here. And so where it's messing with me, even my Amped Americano index is geared towards road tripping. And I guess I need to change my state of mind and look, when I'm at these stations, I need to I'm still going to keep the rating system. It's staying the way it is. It's there. It works. But I need in my reviews to make sure I'm taking into account more the intended use of the station. The Walmart in Lake St. Louis charging doesn't get a great score, but it's a great asset for those who don't have home charging while they're doing their shopping, and that's what that's for. Really messed with me was going back to my review of the new Pilot GM Energy in Pacific, where I also went and reviewed that charge point at the Schnucks in Eureka and was pretty hard on it for being slow. It was cheap, which means they're understanding that because it's slow, they don't have the demand charges, they can keep the price lower. But it's a weird process I realized that station went through. For the longest time, that was it along that whole corridor. So not only was it supporting people while they're grocery charging, that also had to support travelers coming through the area. And that's where I think my rating on that is more apparent, is as the travelers coming through, it was not a good stop because it was slow. And I don't know the reliability of the station. But interestingly, in that video even I talked about, it's bracketed now by the ionization at Wally's and that Pacific Pilot station. And I'm like, this doesn't really make sense anymore. But now it actually, I think, especially looking at this report, it really brings that station into focus. It has a defined purpose now, and that is to serve the grocery shoppers at that Schnucks. And I've had people comment that they like that station. They can go in, they can charge, they can do their grocery shopping for the week and come out and be ready to go. And it's interesting how you would think the competition around it makes it obsolete, and I think it actually makes it more important, because now it's just a community charger and it's not going to be clogged up by the commuters. They're going to go to the faster stations on either end. And then I mentioned like shopping malls earlier and coming back to that. And it's weird. I found this article. I was also listening to the Turn Down for What podcast. And they were talking about, they brought up, because Chris Bowe, one of the hosts, had done a YouTube short recently, because he went to a movie theater and had a 50 kilowatt charger out front that wasn't being used by any of the like 8 or 9 EVs in the parking lot, because 50 kilowatts for a movie theater is way too fast. And that's where this really needs to dig in, and where I need to remember that the speed of the charger, while it may not be fast, it may be geared perfectly to the dwell time, like a sub 100 kilowatt charger at a grocery store. That's perfect. It gives you plenty of time to shop without feeling rushed. And, you know, something like a shopping mall should have been level 2. Like I said, you could have put in 10, 15 level 2 stations for the same price as that 150 kilowatt station, and they'd probably be packed for every movie. And then looking at some other stations, like you've got the EA at the Chesterfield outlets, you know, 350 kilowatt stations, but they're so far from the mall and anything you're going to do, they don't really serve the mall, they just serve the traveler coming through, and I think that's a little backwards. So, like I say, I know I've gone on too long and I've probably bored most of you to clicking away at this point, but hopefully you stuck with me and you're seeing where I'm going. This is just, it's a game changer for me. It's going to definitely alter how I start looking at charging stations and their intended use and how well they're meeting that intended use. I'm not going to change the rating system, but I'll definitely come up in discussion a lot more. So I'm going to link this article down below. It's at electricair.com. You can find it. Fascinating article. There's so much more to dig into. So please go check that out. And I will now shut up about that. The last thing I want to do is I still want to give a creator spotlight. And this week I want to talk about Geek Studios. It's a pair down in Arkansas, Sebastian and Joel. They do a really good job. Obviously, I say that about everyone, but they do. They do multiple things a week. They do they do car reviews, station reviews, but they also do a Friday recap podcast. And usually around Tuesday or so, they do kind of a quick 10, 12 minute, just hot button topic or whatever. So good content, good guys. So go check out EVgeek Studios. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. Hopefully you stuck with me and you found this, especially that article and that kind of stuff, intriguing. It's what I nerd out on. If you're near Cottleville or any of their other locations, go check out Upshot Coffee. Very good stuff. I've been talking so much I haven't even drank it, but it's good. It's still cold. And I'm blazing in the sun here. So, as always, give us a like, give it a comment, give it a share. I've got some cool videos coming up. I'm breaking into DC fast charging, pricing. I'm going to break it. I've got, should be next week, I didn't intend going in for it to turn out the way it did, but it's basically a hit piece on EVgo. So hit subscribe, so make sure you get to watch that one. And you can rip me apart in the comments for that one, because it is what it is. And it's weird, it's interesting because I filmed that way before this article came out, and I don't know if it changed my mind that much, but watch the video and we'll talk about that one afterwards. So like, comment, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. I'll see you on the next one.